What a day. Are we rolling yet? We are. Okay. Welcome to the Steam Belly Soar Private Pocket Dimension. I'm your host, Leander Steambelly. As I said, we're in the Pocket Dimension where everything is all good all the time. My sister slash crossbow drawstring slash band leader slash music coordinator slash guest booker Leonella Steambelly is also here and welcomes you. And she has told me to welcome all of you. Of course, you can't hear her because I'm the only one that can hear her. But she wishes you the best. You know, it's been a rough week for your buddy, Leander. Here at the Pocket Dimension, as I said, everything is great. Everything's always great. But out there in the real world, I died, everybody. I died. I was protecting the love of my life, Decker, and I ate it. But that's okay, you know. Death is not a permanent thing here. But apparently they couldn't get to me in time, and Leander doesn't warrant, I guess, the big time magic. So they got me with a reincarnation spell, which is great, and I'm back, and I'm up. But now I'm a lizard folk, which is it's okay, I guess. I mean, Razik's a lizard folk. He seems like a nice guy, but not quite the swagger that Leander's used to. But we'll make do. On top of that, I had to change the name of the broadcast here. I was, as you know, we originally had Toilet Talk with Leander, but we got in a argument with Federwork Industries. As you know, we use their Sending Stone distribution system to get the broadcast out to everybody, and we just couldn't work it out. We couldn't work it out, so we had to change it to just Character Corner, which, quite frankly, it doesn't really have the pizzazz that I was really hoping for. But, you know, we can have something flashy where only I can hear it, or we can have Character Corner and get it out on all the Sending Stones to all you nice people out there. So, it is what it is. Hopefully, I'll have more information for you about why this change had to occur. But in the meantime, let's stop listening to me complain. We'll get right to our guest for this week. Interesting character this week. Not a lot known about this guy. Very colorful cat, from what I understand. But a little bit of a troublemaker, too. But don't take it from me. Let's listen to him. Our guest this week, coming up soon. Well, right now, as a matter of fact. Panrin Stroganoff. Let's do this thing.
Aha!
Hey, Panrin, what's the haha all about? You want to come have a seat?
Sure. I'm sorry. I was confused. I was told there would be adoring fans.
No, well, I mean, I'm sorry. I'm a fan. You know, I'm very interested in talking to you, but it's just a conversation. It's just you and I. We're gonna talk, and then people gonna listen to it on Sending Stones. That's how this works.
Okay, that's why you brought me to this dank sewer that
Well,
hasn't been cleaned.
come on, man. This is my place. Like, you don't have to go there right away. Like, I feel comfortable here. And
Sure, sure. When you invite nobility, there's an expectation of cleanliness and decorum uh, that I don't necessarily see here.
well, look, uh, I'm embarrassed, and I apologize. I can. Would you like a good berry?
Uh, I don't think that's what's in your hand. Uh, I'm just gonna sit here, right? This is the
Yeah, right. Just sit and we'll start talking, and
okay.
yeah,
Okay,
we're gonna learn about you.
yeah,
That's what we're here for. Everybody's gonna be real interested. I know I'm real interested
sure. Just
to
kind of
learn more about you.
kind of sticky. Uh,
Well,
that's fine.
I mean, let's switch shares. This one's a lot better. I'm not picky. Here, I want you to be comfortable so that we can have a nice, engrossing conversation. I don't want you to be worried about whether or not you're going to stick to the upholstery or what might be wafting up out of the various streams that have collected and are pooling below us right here. Just
Oh, that's what that is.
yeah, 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 yeah. Let's just put that out of your mind, and we're just going to focus on Panrin Stroganoff.
Okay,
How's that sound?
wonderful. So when do we start?
Oh, no, I'm sorry. You see the whisper jar on the table, right? I mean, we're recording all of this. We started from the moment you came in. That's how these things work.
Uh, uh, so
So,
I shouldn't expect an audience anytime soon.
well, it's an audience of one. It's an audience of me, and I'm here to give. I'm a giver by nature. It's
Uh,
gonna. Trust me, it's gonna be great. Let's start off with something simple, right?
okay.
That last name, Stroganoff.
Ah, yes. Clearly, you recognize nobility when you see it.
Well, yes. Can you tell me a little bit about background of that name? It's a bit unusual.
I would love nothing more. Uh, well, it all started with Lord Barpos, or as my family likes to call him, Grandpappy Barpos. He originally extorted, excuse me, exported exotic animals from Cholt, where he met Cyro Lily. At first, he didn't know it was Cyro Lily, but he performed a favor for her. Nobody to this day knows what it was. However, he gave her 3 wishes. Now, obviously, there was people before Barpos, but Barpos is where the wishes came into play, which is why that's where we start our lineage. His first wish was to to start a business of ethically sourced blood diamonds. Those, of course, were extremely lucrative and got him his nobility in the first place. But the second, more importantly, is that he wished that each one or one of his, let's say, descendants would become world renowned for their daring adventures. And his third wish, nobody knows to this day. Mm.
Okay, so let me get this straight. Grandpappy Barvos.
Yes, actually, Lord Stroganoff to
My apologies. Lord Stroganoff meets Cyra Lily on Chult.
you.
Okay, and he gets 3 wishes.
Mm, good so far.
Now, this first wish, I'm already a little confused.
Mhm.
Uh, can you please explain to me what is an ethically sourced blood diamond? What does that look?
Oh, sure, absolutely. I'm sure you're aware of diamonds, correct?
Yeah, very familiar with a diamond. Yes.
Sure, sure, sure. So the blood diamond itself is a diamond that appears very red. Now,
Oh,
ethically sourced means that these red diamonds or blood diamonds are often done on the backs of, let's call it, unintentional labor. But he was a great man, and he wanted them from people who wanted to get the blood diamonds. Uh,
so the original Lord Stroganoff, a bit of a humanitarian.
a bit of a humanitarian, absolutely. That's
Well,
actually where I believe I got it from.
okay. Well, we'll get there. Let's hold on a second. And the second wish that he's
Mm,
got is, I guess it balances out with the humanitarian thing because if you don't get a little bit of ego involved here, he wants someone from each generation of his line to be known for something courageous and heroic.
Absolutely. Although I push back. I believe it is somewhat selfish. He's thinking about his descendants and not of himself.
Okay, okay, I can see that. I guess it could go either way. It could be an ego thing about wanting the name to live on, but it could just be wanting success for his offspring. I get that. Um, so let's talk a little bit more about this. Uh, is there a tradition in the Stroganoff family to just have a single child for each generation?
That is typically how it began until, of course, the split.
The the what now?
The split. Although wishes with gods, you should be extremely careful should that ever happen. Although I don't think any will be finding this place anytime soon. Uh, but when he asked for one person of each generation, it turned out for many years that each Stroganoff only had one child.
Okay, well, that I mean, it seems like that keeps things nice and simple. One child, one hero from each generation. That's a one-to-one matchup. Sounds like things are working out perfectly.
Look at the specimen before you. I would agree wholeheartedly.
Okay, see, now we're talking. So what I'm confused though. If everyone's just having this one child, right?
Until the split,
And
yes.
right. Well, and this is what I'm getting at is there's this event in the Stroganoff family history.
The split, yes.
Yes. What can you please explain that to me, so that I can fully get a grasp on where some of this angst may be coming from?
I'm sorry, angst.
Well, there's seems to be within the Stroganoff family history, right?
Mm,
Some angst, right? And it clearly up until this split, right?
mm,
That
mhm.
that wasn't the case, right? So I don't fully understand what the split is. If you could explain it to me, perhaps at that point we could get a better understanding, right, of what has happened since then. And if I am mistaken, right, perhaps understanding the split will enlighten me as to how I am mistaken.
Great question. There was years down the line after many Stroganovs proved themselves worthy of what we now call Cyril Lily's gift. Uh, Caltrix Stroganoff herself became well known for her sailing of the River Styx on her ship named the Nimrod. Eventually, during that time, she found herself on the elemental plane of water and documented many of the creatures there. As a matter of fact, much of what we know is thanks to Caltrix Stroganoff herself. Now, the split
Wait,
comes
but much of what we know about what?
the elemental plane of water, of course,
Oh, I see.
and the creatures that live there. You can thank her later. That's fine. You don't need to pay her service now. So Caltrix Stroganoff sired two children, twins. And of course, this is the first time it happened in the Stroganoff family, which was a bit of a shock to her and her parent. Again, there's only been one child, so not many people lived long enough to see her have twins. The twins, known as Perbin and Garzin, became the first in the Great Soul debate. That is, with the two offspring, they now have to fight for the blessing of Syra Lily. And whoever is more well known or does the best feats, they are gifted with the blessing of Syra Lily.
Oh well, that sounds like a rough situation to be born into, man. I mean,
I like to
and,
think that the competition pushes us to be better, and oh, that's about it. Pushes us to be better, and results in what you see before you. Again, this wonderful specimen.
so it results in this competition, and it pushes both parties to be better.
Mm,
But both know from the jump that only one can get this blessing.
Yes.
And so, what happens to the child that doesn't get this blessing? I mean, I like what happened what do they go on to do?
They live an uneventful life, which is a fate worse than death.
Hmm. Well, I don't, Pattern. I don't know that it's a fate worse than death. I mean, there's lots of people out here living relatively uneventful lives. Or I would go so far as to say that that plenty of them find lots of fulfillment. Are you claiming that there's nothing that is worth living for unless you are receiving adulation?
Sounds like someone, or it sounds like a statement from someone who has lived an uneventful life.
Okay, I can see now why the lack of what was how do you put it? The lack of adoring fans threw you off there at the beginning. But no worries. Let's get back to the Stroganoff story.
Ah,
Uh,
absolutely.
uh, so, what was her name? Cattlerix
Ooh,
Stroganoff?
Caltrix.
Caltrix Stroganoff. And
Mhm.
so
Feel free to
she
write that down.
she has the first twins in the Stroganoff line. What happens to Perman and Garza?
Great question. Uh, Perbin and Garza, they negotiated the ceasefire between heaven and hell.
Well, it sounds like both of them did something pretty remarkable.
Yes.
So after negotiating the ceasefire between heaven and hell, they're
Mhm.
they're they're still locked in this competition with each other, correct?
Oh no, certainly 1-1.
Well, and I according to my notes here, I imagine that the winner would be Perman.
Well, let me ask you this: have you ever heard of Perbin Stroganoff?
Well, uh, beyond this conversation, I haven't heard much of any of the Stroganoffs, to be quite honest with you. But
Exactly, but you haven't heard of Perbin Stroganoff.
no, I have not.
Boom.
Okay, I get your point. Uh, so Garza then, right?
Garzin.
Clearly, Garzin.
It's
My
important to know that name.
apologies.
Write that down.
Garzin. Clearly, the winner of this internal struggle in the family, and so the now just so I'm clear, does that mean that the blessing from Lord Stroganoff's first wish can now only follow through Garzin's line?
No. Uh, each time a Stroganoff is born, uh, both times each
Ah,
Stroganoff will have a child themselves, born on the same day. It works out really well like that. Those two are then locked in another battle for the blessing of Sarah Lily.
I see. So Perman and Garzin were locked in the first battle,
Hmm.
right? And they were
Hmm.
brothers. But then, as they have children, these cousins are going to be locked into battles.
Absolutely.
This is fascinating.
Mm.
And so, how many generations removed from Garzin are you?
Only three.
Only 3 generations. And
Mhm.
now, did you only have one other person to battle against, one cousin to battle against, right?
Paidi.
Or is it the case that people since Caltrix, right, have had multiple? I know she had the 2 boys, right? But have people been having twins since then, or is it reverted back to a single child for each person?
Single child each person. Although we're not ruling out twins in the future.
Right. I mean, clearly it's happened once in the past already. So, okay. So you're 3 generations removed from Garzon,
Hmm.
right? Who was what was the cousin that you were competing against?
Paini.
Can you repeat that name for me one time?
Sure. Paini.
Paidi. I got it.
Absolutely.
And clearly you won that competition because you are seated here talking with me now.
It's still a fight.
Oh, and that fight is still ongoing.
Yes. Long ago, Paini and I made the decision to never speak or talk again, to never meet until we stand in front of Sarah Lily so that she can tell us who won.
Oh, now see, this is very interesting. So it's entirely possible that you could go your entire life without knowing whether you've won.
I'm winning.
Okay, well,
And I
I
can tell you with confidence because have you ever heard of Paini Stroganoff?
I have not heard of Haiti Stroganoff.
Exactly.
Okay, okay. Well, listen, I would tend to agree with you, right? Because clearly you're the one I've invited to my pocket to bed talking to. So uh, I definitely think you're in the lead too. But now I'm starting to see it. Now I'm starting to see. Look, okay, right? This competition, it drives both people to be better, right? It's not like somebody is just told at the age of 15, boom, you're going to be the guy, and the other one can go, uh, just uh, pick fruit for the rest of his life. No, it drives both of you for your lives to try and be the one to get that approval, if you will, from the original Lord Stroganoff and his his second wish. Um,
You have
Nobody
to
knows what.
earn father's love, Sarah Lily's love, gift. Sarah Lily's gift.
Well, yeah, I mean, absolutely, right? But you're still surely all for Lord Stroganoff. You're still trying to impress a dead man.
Uh, a god.
Okay, well, all right. Look, I'm not going to pick a fight with you. God's fine. That's uh, I'm a little confused.
Hmm?
How how long ago was Caltrix?
Uh, generations.
Right. So that I mean, we're talking 100 years, 150 years, something like that.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Uh, well, I'm confused because I mean, I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I mean, I've seen books. I've read some books, right? I've read some about the elemental plane of water,
Hmm.
right? And
Hmm.
yeah, and so some of those books are more than 150 years old.
Hmm. Hmm. Hmm.
Really? Yeah, is what you have to say to that?
Well, tell me this. What's the most detailed book that you read about the elemental plane of water?
Oh, well, I mean,
Or
it's
rather,
not like
who was the
I'm an
author?
expert. It's not like I'm an expert in it, but I do remember. Oh, what was it? Oh yeah, Thaddeus Furlenblow
Hmm.
wrote what I believe was a seminal text on the topic, uh, called "Water, Water Everywhere." That's got to be at least 350 years old.
Yes, that's Caltrix's pen name.
Okay, so she's got a pen name that
Hmm.
existed 200 years before she did.
No, she existed at that time. She just she aged slower, had a late child, as did many of our parents. But that is in fact her pen name. Also, we shouldn't rule out that she had the ability to time travel since she could traverse planes.
Okay. Uh, let's uh let's just let that sit there. I don't want
Let
to
it
get.
simmer. Take your time. It's hard to understand it. The Stroganoff line is complicated. Uh, shouldn't dig too deeply into it because Uh,
Well, and
what's the point, really?
right,
We live
and
great lives, and
the
we
the for the sake of this conversation, the Stroganoff line is important because of
mm,
how it's affected you, Panrin Stroganoff, and how it shaped you. That's who we want to learn about. That's what I want to learn about. Um,
sure.
we
I would say it not to overlook the impact they've had on the world at large. But
no,
yes, me in particular.
right, I completely agree. Right, they've certainly had a great impact on this world. Right, and I'm sure there are plenty of other individuals who would like to have that conversation. But right now, we're talking about Panrin Stroganoff, and we're talking about. So the focus is going to be on how that family history has affected the growth of Panrin Stroganoff. And one thing we've learned, if I may, is that this competition with your cousin, who we will not name, it has driven you to great heights and to be even better, right? And to be even stronger
Thank you for
a-
recognizing that.
and to achieve as much as you could possibly in order to get the blessing of this second granted wish from Lord Stroganoff. And so that leads me to ask, what, why side on with the Zentarum?
Ah, great question. As you can see, or rather, you've heard from the legends, my talents are much more suited to a group such as the Zentarum. They can get me in places. They can get me out of places. Not that I ever need help. Both getting in and out, I'm quite adept at really anything. Uh, but certainly, they have helped me propel myself closer to winning this competition with Paini.
Okay, so you're essentially using the Zentarum, or
They,
we're using the Zentarum, right, to and their resources to help in this competition with your cousin.
exactly, they are but a stepping stone.
Right. And
A friendly lift up.
would that be why there are now wanted posters appearing with your uh countenance on them?
Um, I'm sorry, wanted posters?
Oh yeah, something here. Let me show you. This was discovered in Waterdeep. There's been a number of these.
Huh.
Uh
Tell me, is there a reward?
oh well, it's not the amount of the reward is not listed, but you can see right here at the bottom it says reward.
Ah, yes. There?
Yeah, right there. Yes, that's
Okay.
where it says reward. Uh
And how much is this reward?
well, well, Penryn, I don't know. I'm not looking to turn you in. I'd want to learn about you, so I haven't made any in inquiries as to what's going on. I just know that there are people,
Ah,
right?
so you have to inquire to find the amount of the reward then?
You do.
And is the contact information on the paper?
I It's not, but, I did speak with Razik, right? And he made it pretty clear the Zentarum are the ones putting up the wanted posters. I mean, there was a wanted poster for Zira too, right? That caused a big problem apparently. But,
Ah,
they're pretty sure that, well, not pretty sure, they're confident the Zentarum are looking for you, buddy.
oh,
And so
huh.
let me ask the question again, right? Are they looking for you because they discovered that you were just using them and their resources in this competition with your cousin?
Let me ask you this.
Mm.
Do the Zamtarum seem like the type to really want someone of my skill once I have left their services?
Well, yes, I mean, from what I've heard, you've got incredible skill. Skills would be uh, in high demand by the Zentarum and others.
So, perhaps they don't want me as a criminal, they just want me back? I am, after all, quite likable.
So your suggestion is that this wanted poster uh, could be easily renamed a "missing you" poster.
Let me ask you this. Can you think of any other conceivable reason why they would want me?
Uh, I cannot. It's
Mm, there it is then. There it
well,
is.
there. I mean, there's something.
Mhm.
It's
It's
sort
that.
of the reason I asked the question
Certainly
twice
that.
now. But
Just that.
okay,
No
well, if
need
it's
to.
that,
Mm,
we'll move on. I get it. This is not my first rodeo. I do have another question though related to this. Something Razik said actually brought this question to mind. Um, you did stick around with that adventuring group out of Tate Morton for a fair amount of time.
certainly.
Um, why would you do that after they killed all your friends?
That is also a great question. Sometimes service is a calling, rather, is often higher than one's own personal connections, especially when you are as enlightened as I am.
Okay, I'm not sure I understand what any of that means, but let me get right to the
It's
point here.
okay. It's hard to comprehend. You take your
Y-
time with it.
you're you're talking about service to higher things, and that's
Hmm.
all well and good,
Hmm.
but well, look, not to put too fine a point on it, but Razik explained to me that he ate the meat that was your best friend.
Yeah.
And although I originally took that as a euphemism, I have since learned that nothing Razik says is a euphemism, and he merely explained that after killing your friend, he believed he was a being no more and was simply meat, and then consumed that meat. And
He did
yet,
in fact eat my friend. Yes.
yeah, well, how did that make you feel, Padrit?
Uh, Pretty angry, if I'm being completely honest. If this is just
Right. Well,
between us,
yeah, of course,
I
this is just between us and the
I
Whisper Jar and the people that will be listening on it. But let's not focus. Let's focus on us, right? It, of
mm,
course, that made you angry, right?
mhm,
Which is why I asked the question: Why, why this adventuring group? Why stick with them? Your
sure.
first introduction to them, this lizard person, eats your best friend.
Mhm. Off the record, uh, I was told to join by my handler, and I was there to spy on them and send back information to the Zentarum. But I had a personal motive, which was to assassinate those that killed my friends. However, over time, I saw that the what they were trying to accomplish was bigger than that, and so I decided to stick with them and help them in any way that I could. And as I'm sure you're aware, eventually we parted ways.
I see. And so, well, we'll get to that in a second. But
Mm,
this is interesting, right?
mm.
So,
And again, off the record.
right. Well, we'll discuss offer on the record afterwards. I mean, all of this is being recorded. We don't need to make that decision in the moment.
Mm,
But what's interesting here is you sign on with the Zentarum to assist you in winning this competition with your cousin,
yes,
right? You come across this adventuring group, right? They're very skilled, right? They take out,
exception. So,
th- right, through I'm sure no fault of your own, right? I'm sure it was the weakness of these Zentarum compatriots you were with, but they take out
oh,
this Zentarum group that you are traveling with, right? Including consuming the body of your best friend,
mm,
right?
okay.
And
Don't have to go over that again. I got it the first time.
although you are originally, right, assigned to follow this group around,
Mm,
right, in order to assassinate them, right?
well,
You
yes.
discover both that their skill and their purpose right, is not only exceptional,
Mm,
right, and worthy,
mhm.
but that they may be able to assist you in your competition with your cousin more than the Zentarum had. Would you say
Yeah,
that's accurate?
absolutely.
Well,
See,
so it's really the split. I see how that drives so much of what's going on with. That's very interesting.
exactly. As I said before, dying in an uneventful life is a fate worse than death.
Well, okay, I can see where you might believe that, right? And I can see how that clearly drives you and the decisions you make. Let's talk
Mhm,
about another one of those decisions real quick. You had mentioned that you did split with the group, and
mhm.
through my research, it seems that the seed of that split occurred in Seacomber. What happened in Seacomber, Pat?
Nothing happened in Seacomber.
Well, I mean, that's simply not accurate, Pedro. I mean, for example, right? You guys were there. There's a big fire in Seacomber, and then you guys weren't there. You had nothing to do with that fire.
Nothing. I, uh I don't have the ability to start fires. Perhaps you should talk to Razik. He does.
Well, it's interesting you bring that up. I spoke with Razik, who mentioned that you and Oryx started that fire, as explained to him by Oryx. And you're saying that you had nothing to do with that.
Nothing to do with the fire whatsoever.
Okay. Uh,
I
o-
was
uh,
unaware until this moment that a fire even occurred. So, as I
okay.
said, you'll have to
Okay.
take up
Hey,
with
hey,
that.
look.
Razik or
uh,
Oryx, I know sometimes they're a bit of storytellers and can tend to exaggerate, so I don't see specifically why they had to bring me into it, but that's between them and whatever
Yeah.
moral code they
Those are two.
subscribe to.
Those are two individuals that are known, definitely known for or spinning great yarns. But
Mm,
we'll just move on because the, the more interesting thing to me than whatever criminal activity may or may not have occurred
mm.
in Seacomber, right, is the item that you personally acquired in Seacomber.
Ah, you mean this?
Well, is this the dagger?
This is one and the same.
Oh well, I mean it's fascinating, but
Why,
you know
thank you.
I was to understand that it was a little bit more, uh, I guess, connected.
You mean the tentacles.
Yes, of course, the tentacles. That's exactly what I'm talking.
Yes, they seemed to have retracted back into the dagger ever since y- the event, as I'm sure you're aware.
Oh, well, I mean, does that mean you no longer have that connection with the dagger?
I There are some aspects of the dagger that have remained, and certain blessings have been ripped from me, but I
Oh well,
believe
I,
in
I
time those will come back. As a matter of fact, I am sure they'll come back.
well, I'm sorry to hear that, both for you personally and also, well, I'm sorry. I was, hoping we could talk a little bit more and maybe I could learn a little bit more about that type of relationship and how that works. Ella, no, he doesn't have it anymore. There's nothing. Well, There's nothing more to ask. It's not. Never mind. I'm sorry. Uh, so
I mean,
you've.
certainly you can ask about the abilities that granted to me, as I will have them very shortly. So this is only
Oh, so
a brief
you
pause.
right. So this is just a pause. This isn't. They've been ripped from you, never to return.
Exactly. They'll be back.
Oh,
I'm sure
well,
of it.
then I'm terribly interested. As you know, my sister met with a great misfortune and turned
I'm sorry.
into this sentient bit of goo that is now the drawstring on my hand. And
Is
I
that
have a similar sort of pact, sort of relationship that you seem to have with this dagger. So I'm quite curious about the abilities that it has granted you.
Can I ask, is that why you've been talking to your crossbow this entire time?
Well, I mean, it's part of the reason. She also runs the show. She's the musical director, she's the
Mhm.
talent booker, right?
Mhm.
She's currently, monitoring the whisper jar to make sure that our levels are correct. We don't want to blow out any sending stones when
Mhm.
this thing finally goes out. So she's got a lot of work to do, right? And I'm as the host, as the talent, I'm checking in to make sure, right, that I'm doing everything I can to assist her. She's, after all, my sister, and I love her, and I don't want to make her life any more difficult than it already is having to exist as a drawstring.
I'm the drawstring is sending this message out? The drawstring, your sister. The
Yes.
crossbow, your sister. I'm not sure where your sister ends and the crossbow begins.
Well, she's my crossbow and my sister.
Seem
She's
to be
my sister
talking to
and my
the
crossbow.
seem to be talking to the entirety of it. So I don't. That's not important. Back to me. You were asking questions.
Yes, these powers that you received from
Mm,
the tentacles that r- uh, extruded themselves from the dagger and planted themselves in your arm, right? You received certain powers from this, yes?
absolutely.
And what magnificent gifts were granted to you as a result of this?
Well, uh, the first, uh, before the tentacles, I could send messages, and should I hit somebody with it, which I always hit somebody with it, they lose the ability to speak, which is well, my favorite part about it. Eventually, as time progressed, I learned to give the same affliction to others. Mine, of course, was a gift. Theirs was an affliction. And then eventually, I was able to read all languages. The more than I already knew. Certainly, I'm literate, but then became much more literate, even though I was before very, very literate. Um,
You're
and
a
then
prolific reader, are you?
I am, yes, certainly some people have described me as that.
Hmm.
Uh,
Quite interesting.
mhm. And and also, oh, my favorite part, even though I would steal the screams from other people, I would then force that back onto them, their screams, and that thunderous noise would increase my combat powers even more.
Well, it sounds like you've suffered quite a loss then.
Temporary setback. It's only a matter of time before I reestablish that pact connection with the dagger.
Well, why do you think it's only a matter of time?
I am fairly certain that I can make an agreement. Excuse me, not agreement. The dagger has just been suppressed, and once I find the ability to reignite that spark,
Well,
I
I don't
plan
know,
on
man. It seems to me that that dagger chose you,
mm,
and then through some
smart
course
dagger.
of action, right? It seems to have unchosen you.
Uh, no, no, no. Nobody would unchoose me.
Well, how else do you describe it withdrawing the physical connection to your body that it created than a
It's
rejection?
it's more. Have you ever been thrown against a wall or electrocuted in water or hit multiple times until you go unconscious?
Yes, very recently, outside of my pocket sewer dimension here, I was hit many, many times so that I not only went unconscious, but I died. Thank you for
Exactly.
bringing it up.
Wait, what? You
No, outside of this universe, I died and was brought back to life.
in this universe?
Well, this is just a little pocket dimension here.
Sure. So you died, you came back, and then you came here. Or you died and then you came here.
Well, out there, I died, right, and came back as lizard folk. Here, I just exist as sort of the epitome of Leander, the most
Oh,
Leanderness.
You haven't
it
always been
exists.
like this.
Well, I don't see what that's supposed to mean. I'm I'm a lovely individual. Are you trying to
Yeah,
suggest otherwise?
I just say with my experience of Razik, I just had always assumed with your personality you were always a lizard folk. Is that
Oh
that's
well,
not the case?
that's oh boy. Look, let's get back to the Panrin Stroganoff story before.
Gladly.
Yeah. Uh, so you've lost the gifts that the dagger's given you.
As I said, think of it as going unconscious. Eventually, it will wake up again, and I will have my abilities back.
Okay. I mean, I think that's pretty optimistic thinking, but look, if there's one thing I've learned about the Stroganoffs, they're pretty optimistic thinking group. So you're walking around with an unconscious dagger,
Hmm.
and
You can think of it as sleeping.
okay, right, your Sleeping Beauty dagger, and you have left the Zentarum. You've left the Taymorden adventuring group. Uh,
Hmm.
you have popped up a little bit south of Waterdeep hunting werewolves.
Yes, that was a message from the dagger.
Oh, so the dagger was awake at that point.
Yes, the dagger was very awake, adeptly taking out werewolves. Which, by the way, let's be real, they were werewolves, right? They weren't exactly the kindest of creatures. They were going out and hunting things, so they did need to be stopped. I was providing a service.
Well, I mean, I guess that's one way to look at it, but from what I've researched here, they were out hunting trolls that were feeding on a nearby town.
Uh, mm, I mean, the people of that town hadn't received any troll attacks in a long time, so I think
Yeah,
that's an
because
inaccurate
because of the
assessment.
werewolves that you were
I,
hunting.
were you there? Did you see these people? These are
No, but
these are secondhand accounts. You can't be certain of really anything. I was there. I saw them attack multiple creatures, and that's how I knew
m-
that they need to be
multiple.
stopped.
You saw the werewolves attack multiple creatures that weren't trolls.
Uh, Certainly.
Okay, well, in what seems to be a pattern that doesn't really match up with the research or story from other individuals, but this is not really about other individuals. This is about Panrin Stroganoff
Mm,
and
the hero of the
the
story.
well, certainly the hero of this story. It is a amazing journey that you have been on.
Thank you for saying that.
Some really fantastical tales that I will, I guess, leave it up to the listener to decide uh, how much to, well, believe, quite frankly. Uh, but regardless, clearly a fascinating individual with a fascinating.
I'm sorry.
Um,
Believe. Uh, do we
well,
believe
look, Padrin,
our
like,
truths up for beliefs now? Fact is fact.
well, okay, fact is fact, but your facts don't match up with everyone else's facts in many of these stories.
It's not how facts work.
Right, which calls to question what you're telling us. Are they actually facts?
Yes,
And
they're
that's
actually
what,
facts because I told you them.
right. I understand that is your perspective.
My perspective.
Yes. And I,
I
and I
think
am I am simply stating that our listeners will get to decide for themselves whether they want to believe the fact what you state are facts or what others have stated are facts.
I don't
And
know what
and
kind of
I
show this is. I don't know what kind of credibility you have. I don't not here to have my name slandered. As you know, I'm great, humanitarian. I do things for people. I don't understand why people think that things that happened didn't actually happen. I can only assume it's from reporters like you going out and giving away fake stories and taking around fake facts and just pushing it off as your own. But you know what? Oh, I'm sorry. Nope. I'm getting something right now in my ear.
Okay.
It's a mission
Right.
I have
Yeah,
to
you're getting something from the sleeping dagger.
yeah,
I got.
no. Excuse me. Yeah, no, I'll be right there. I just gotta. I
So
have
the
to leave
dagger
real
just
quick.
woke up, is what you're saying.
So I am saying I have to go. Very important mission. A lot of things
Okay,
to do. I'm sure you'll hear about it later from the
I'm
real
sure I
people.
will. Okay,
Uh,
that's fine.
this interview is over. I'm just gonna. Is there like
No, it,
which? Is there like
dude,
a push?
no,
Is there a secret?
it's the other side. Just
One
read
of
the
these.
sign.
Sorry,
It's on the other. Read the sign. Okay,
which one of these? Which one of these books
okay,
opens the
I'm
door?
coming. Hold on, it's fine. I'll help you out. Well, there you have it. That's Panrin Stroganoff. Not entirely sure how much we actually learned about his family history or what he was doing in Tamorden or Waterdeep or since, but we definitely got a good sense, I'd say, of his personality. And I think maybe even a real moment of emotion or two there. I gotta say, uh, at the end of the day, I just can't imagine, if given the opportunity, turning down the opportunity to have a drink with the fella. Keep an ear out for the next edition of whatever we're going to call this thing, which is still up in the air. I'm sure we'll get that worked out eventually. But until then, this is Leander Steambelly. And remember, don't be afraid of the dark. It's not afraid of you. Leonella!